Hello and good morning, everybody. Welcome to
Morning.
our third session for our webinars. And this week we will be handling everything about the Model Creator, and we will show you a lot of nice features that we implemented here. For that, I will just switch to our presentation real quick. Today is a very special day because today we will just handling the Model Creator and its features for you. My name is Joe, I'm with Exocad, and today I'm accompanied by two of my dearest colleagues, Michael Barshev. He is a senior application specialist in the support team, as well as Leonardo Galanti. He's also an application specialist in our team.
Good
All
morning.
right.
Good morning, everybody.
Perfect. Then let's just jump right into it. Let's see what today has to offer for us. As I said, it's going to be the DentalCAD 3.0 Galway edition of the Model Creator, a deep dive into plateless and implant models.
Yes, and don't forget, we have a question chat. You can ask your questions, and we, Leonardo and me, are at your service. Enjoy.
Perfect.
Right.
All right, this is our agenda for today. First, we will start with a more regular case of the Model Creator. I'm going to show you through the conical die feature, the flat gingiva printer presets, as well as a couple more new attachments. After that, we will just jump into the implant model type again. I'm going to show you the library manager, how much more convenient it will make your workflow to implement new libraries into the software without going the old way and have to work around and install it yourself. So, of course, as always, the more you want to know about it, you can listen to us, but you can also do some work yourself afterwards and just go to our Exocad wiki page. That will help you a lot. Of course, our YouTube channel has a lot of very, very nice videos and features to offer for you. So please take advantage of that. Also, step by and pay our Facebook group, the Exocad experts, as well as the Exocad group, a little visit just to inform yourself a little bit further. All right. Perfect. Then here we go, and I'm right in the DB that you all know already. I'm just going to go and load the first case, a Model Creator case with prepared dies. Please keep in mind, you can always go ahead and design the workflow as much as you want. You can just go and create a model and afterwards put on your restorations, do analog work if you want to. That's no problem at all. You also have the option to, prior to the model, actually design your entire restoration and implement it afterwards into the Model Creator as well. But for this purpose, I will just jump right into the Model Creator and we will see what it looks like. All right, and here we are already. I'm gonna load my scene file. Here we see our model. It's a beautiful model, a very nice scan. And we start in the model alignment. The model alignment is our first step in creating a model because here we determine what kind of model we want to create. And a lot of people that have been using our software prior to the Galway edition will see a slight difference next to the dark mode, of course, but you will see a difference here in the model type selection. The list has been changed a little bit. Prior to the Galway version, a lot of presets of printer versions could be selected here as well. We changed that a little bit, and you will see in the following why that is so. And I'm just going to start with a very, very regular case. I'm going to design a plateless model with cutout dies. That means my dies will be detachable from the model without further segmenting the model itself. We see our two planes for our alignment. We have the option to move and tilt and rotate the model in any kind we want. We can either just grab it with the left mouse button and move it as we want to. We can also use the right mouse button if we hold control as well. We can tilt and turn it into any direction as we want. And as you can see, maybe if I lose the mouse button now and I just hold the control button, you will see that those arrows are appearing here. That gives you the opportunity to fine tune the position of your model a little bit better and just get to the right result that you want to have. You also have the option to reduce, lower, or extend the height of your model as well. You can do that down here, either by just using the slider, and you can see you have a real-time connection here, so it changes right away, or you can just enter a value by yourself. So for this purpose, and also to save a little bit of material, I'm just going to go with 40 millimeters in a total height. And with that, I will just use Control and Tab as a hotkey to jump to the next step. The next step is the 3D data editor. I mean, that's nothing new here. You're pretty much familiar with that. I think just for the demonstration purpose, I will just go and cut this out a little bit here. That's no problem. Finish it with a double click, delete it, and you can see we have a very nice cut here, and we can also save some data. So we just go and skip ahead. Now we come to the margin line detection. The margin lines you see here are imported priorly from our design. They're part of the construction info that we have in the project folder. And just for the demonstration purposes, because the detection of the margin line, you see here a cut view that also shows us where on the scan we have our nice edges. And just to show you how flawless this detection of the margin line works, I'm just going to use it here. It's perfect. I'm going to continue with that. It's implemented, the crown is registered, and we get to the next dice. And it's asking us here down in the wizard to go for tooth 1-1. I will just skip that and implement the margin lines that we imported. And I'm absolutely fine with that. And now we come to the toggle die step. In this step, I can determine what teeth or what stumps or dies have to be detachable from the model. And just because I like it so much, I will also choose the both canine, because, you know, for the lateral contact points, the approximate parts, it might be sometimes easier to get an entire bridge in, for example. So I chose those, and I will just skip ahead. Now we have to determine them for the software as well, just as the dies were determined before. And the wizard says start with tooth 13. What I'm doing right here, just one single click. Now the software is rendering that tooth and looking for a possible match for the margin line. And I'm very happy with this result. So I will just continue at this point. And now we have to repeat the same step for tooth 23. And here it's being detected. And after the detection, we get to the margin step again. We have our control points here where we can just edit the result as well if there are any parts that we want to have entered as well. We also have a correct step over here, and that's a feature that you're probably familiar with. You have a brush size again that you can individualize by holding Shift, and you can see how the color turns. Then I use my mouse wheel just to switch the size of the brush. And now I have the possibility to go and just literally paint on the model and determine my margin line for this cutout die individually, just as I want to. I was fine with the original, so I will just go and apply that here. Here we go, it's being segmented again. And we can just confirm that and get to the next step. And here we are actually where most of the show is happening. So you can see our overview. For the first step, I want to start with the settings here that we have available. So the first thing you will notice is this very, very big arrow in the middle of the model. And this is our insertion direction for the model. If you're not too familiar with that workflow, this helps you to actually adjust the base of your model all around and in which direction, speaking of in which insertion direction this plate base should be handled for. But I'm fine with a very centric modulation here. That's fine for me. So first, let's have a look at the presets, and that's one of the changes I mentioned before in the model alignment step, where you could actually choose what kind of model you would use. In the prior versions, you were also able to choose certain settings for certain printers already. We made that an entire own step in the settings as well. So here you can see there's a variety of already integrated printers and versions and brands and manufacturers here. For the demonstration, I will just choose the ASIGA model here as well. Now you can see all those different options that will help you to completely individualize your model. And that starts from the base itself. You have a lot of parameters here that you can use. The ditch in this matter means the gap of the cutout die around the gingiva. That's something you can familiarize yourself with, except for the add pin grooves, for example. So you can determine on the base how far, how deep the groove for the pin should be. And if you want to actually mill the model, and that's your preferred way, then you can also implement a milling anticipation down here in the settings. If you individualized one of those settings, for example, for the ASIGA printer, then you can individualize all the parameters if you want to, that's fine. And if you want to keep them for the future, just make a right click on the name and save the preset as. Here you can just enter any individual name that you want to. You can save the preset and use it further on every time again, and it will be there. Perfect. I'm not going to save it for this matter because I'm fine with it. And first, I want to go over to the die settings. Here you can see already in the main window that it's very, very nice. We have individual insertion direction for every die, and you can manipulate those freely no matter how you want to. You can just grab one of the control points and individualize them, bring them into position in any kind of position you want to. Of course, we have to be reasonable here. A positioning like that would probably lead to a conflict. So what we can do optionally is we can just bring it into position. You can also use our navigation buttons down here in the right bottom corner, bring it slightly into a position that you want to, and use the set from view button down here in the wizard. You can see how all the arrows automatically are also unified, directing towards our view at the moment. Then we can just give it a quick view. That looks nice. I'm fine with that insertion direction. So from here, I have a very, very nice feature that has been asked for a long time, the shaft taper. The shaft taper of the dies that will be detachable can be manipulated down here in the wizard as well. Just one thing I want you to keep in mind: the higher you set this angulation of the shaft taper, the lower you have to go with the height limit of the taper. Otherwise, you will just pretty much wind up with a mostly parallel die that will just have a very conical tip at the end. And then also the die pin will look very, very fragile and very thin, and that's nothing you want to work with. So we go with this setup. I'm very fine with that. And here I want to show you another feature. It's the gingiva mask. For that, we have a different category here. I'm just gonna choosing it. You can set up your parameters for the gingiva mask as you want to. That's absolutely up to you and your own personal preferences. You also have the chance to automatically add retention knobs for your gingiva mask as well. If you're familiar with that feature, you know how to use it and how or what kind of things you have to take care of with that. I just want to add one with those presets here at the moment. So I just click on add, and now I can go onto my model, bring it into position, and just start drawing as you are used to it from all our other software versions and modules. So I'm just gonna go around here, make sure that I don't hurt the margin line, give it a very nice shape. And that's actually a very nice feature because you can completely freely modulate something and design the shape of the gingiva mask as you want. That's absolutely up to you and your needs in the laboratory. So we just finish the line here and we're fine with that. We just check our settings here as well. I think I'm just gonna go down with the taper a little bit. All our settings are still there. So from here, I will just run the model. And you can see already that we have our dies here. And now I noticed I accidentally checked the omit the die pin part. That's no problem. I'm going to do that in the next run. You can see our die pins down here are missing at the moment. So that's an option for you too as well. If you think you rather want to spare the pin because it's better for the friction part or just for the fitting of the die itself, that's completely up to you. You can slightly see already the outlining of the gingiva mask here as well, and you can see a little bit of the pattern of the stumps that we made detachable here. So this is our model. It looks very, very nice. I'm very fine. And maybe with that, you see that we implemented another feature, a very subtle but very strong feature. Now you can also put the gingiva mask around normal dies. And that's something fairly new, but in my opinion, very, very useful, especially if you're a ceramist. Sorry, you will have a much more natural and more realistic feeling of the gingiva around your crowns that you will implement later on. And it will look a little bit more professional than before. So what I want to do now is that actually it looks very nice, but if I'm honest, I actually want to go with another gingiva design. Just having that is not enough for my purpose. I need a little bit more of tissue in that matter. So what I do here is I just click on the expert mode, switch over there. And now I first have to delete the model that I just created. Here you have your deletion tab. That's absolutely all right. What we want to choose. We don't need the segmented teeth. That's absolutely all right. We just choose the model. We click on OK. It is deleted automatically. That's fine for us. We make another right click, go to the model alignment. And here we have a different option available. It's the flat gingiva mask. And you can see nothing really changes here for us. So I just click OK, the orientation, everything will be calculated again for us. So once I click on the wizard, all our detachable teeth and on the crowns that we sort of administrated already are still there, and we get back to our settings. And you can see our settings are still there. So here we still have the Aziga preset available, and our shaft taper is still the same. But this time, I'm just going to omit the die pin, of course, and show you the different gingiva mask that I have here. So just to show you the difference, I won't cover the entire area here. I just click on Add again, and now it's different because I don't just draw my outlining of the gingiva mask here. No, I just click once on the model. I get this little cube here. It looks very nice for me. And now I can start bringing it into position. And for that, I just grab one of those control balls and I bring it into position as I want to. Here I have the option to actually move this cube around as I want to. I can either just grab it with my left mouse button and drag it around if I want to. I can also use the control button, hold it, and then prolong the entire cube. Or I can use, for example, shift and control. So it's still very early in the morning. Shift and control and the left mouse button, and then I can tilt it as much as I want to in any direction. If I just use control, I can also rotate it. That's a very, very nice feature. And no, don't worry, you don't just have to use those 4 control points here and then try to make a shape out of that. If you hold control and you see those lines here and how it's lighting up a little bit when I cross it, if I click on it again, I can just add as many more control points as I want to. And it's really up to me, my preference and my design. And I just bring it into position and I try to cover the entire area, and I'm just gonna have it ending in between the 2 front teeth. That looks nice for me. And I'm just looking, do I cover not enough ground? No. So I will extend it a little bit. Yes, and we will drag it down and then make sure that it's a little bit more even because we want to do something nice here. A last swift look if we don't hurt any margin lines or so, and we're fine. And from here, I will just go through my settings real quick, see that everything is all right, and then click on run again. You can see we have our dies here. This time they come with the pins together. They're conical, just the way we wanted to. Here we can see the outlining of the gingiva mask again. This time it looks slightly different, a little bit more geometrical. That's because we have, instead of just one layer of the gingiva mask, we have an entire cube there that gives us a lot more tissue, if you want to put it that way, a more realistic feeling. The compression feels different. The back bounce of the crown will feel different. And I think that's a very neat thing for us in the laboratory to have. So here we see it. If I want to, I can also just show you real quick that we have actually a really nice, thick, soft tissue gingiva part here. And that's something we can definitely work with. So I'm just bringing back my model. I'm fine with that. And I jump to the next. We are not recalculating it. Probably have changed some of the settings here and there. And we get to the next step, which is the lower jaw. Same behavior here as well, which is why I'm just going to go and click next. And for that, I'm using Control and Tab again. And the model calculation is running. And while it does, I'm taking a sip of tea. You can see in the wizard already the model has been saved. This is our complete model all together. We have a little bit of an extra part here, an artifact, but that's not too bad for this part. I will just try to ignore it here. So first, let me show you really quick our text feature, because there is a smaller feature that has been overseen for the most parts. I'm just gonna go and write Exocad here. And now I'm going to use this little arrow here on the side, and that gives you a tiny little more options for individualization. You're probably familiar with it from any kind of Windows feature. You can now actually choose a certain text type that you want to. Any font is available here as well. I'm just going to go with Castella because it looks nice. Make it bold as well. Click OK. Click on Add Text, and now the orange text tells me what to do again, as always in our software, because Exocad is always trying to work with you to improve your workflow. It says set a position. So I'm just gonna choose the lower jaw here as well, click on it, and now I can bring it into position if I want to. And you can see if there is a spot where it can't attach to the model correctly, it will just turn red and signal you, please correct my position here as well. So I can do that. That's very fine for me. I will jump over to the attachments. There are a couple new attachments that I want to show you. For example, our drainage holes. And for that, if you're familiar with the analog workflow, then you might feel remembered if I choose those and I just click on my model. There is the plate already. And if I look on it, yes, it looks like a rising sun. That's very nice. You can just grab this attachment and move it around if you want to, and bring it into position where it's convenient for you. If you're not fine with the scaling of it and the size and the proportions, that's no problem. Down here in the wizard, you have those two sliders that you can use, and you can just enhance or just shrink the plate as well. You can also just manipulate, let's see, take it to a nicer view. You can also manipulate the height and make it really convenient for you for your model production as well. And once you implemented that, you will probably recognize it will give you a very nice additional feature as well, because they also function as very, very nice mechanical retentions for articulation. So if you have seen that, that's very nice. I'm just going to delete it for the next one, because now I want to show you one of the articulators that you can use that are integrated into the software. For example, the one from the ModelMacher. It's a full arch attachment, and I just click here on my model. You can see there is our attachment, and I can just go and grab it, drag it around. I can use the control button to rotate it. And with that, I bring it into position. We of course want to have it into a position that fits our model so it doesn't tilt anywhere afterwards if we put it on a table. So we have that, and that's very nice for us. And with it, I want to implement now, for example, a different draining hole. We can use that as well. So I'm going to use that for the lower part here, and I just click on it again. The plate appears, and now it's straight. That's probably even more familiar if you have been doing models in the laboratory. Then you're probably pretty much familiar with it. It looks a lot like the socket former for the model creation. And with that, you can also, again, have very, very nice mechanical retentions. I think that's a very nice extra feature if you want to articulate it afterwards as well. So with that, I'm very, very fine. We also have our additional restrictions for movements down here, but you've seen those in prior versions as well. So I'm just going to run the model at this point, click on next. The model is being calculated. You can see how the rendering kicks in, and it's trying to smoothen out parts, taking all the parts that we actually put together here. And here is our finished product. Yes, and that's something you have to consider if you use the drainage holes and also an articulator, that you have those implemented here as well. But of course, for the use of this matter, it's no problem at all. So with that, I will just go and switch to the next case. In the meantime, are there any questions at the moment, my dear colleagues?
So
Yeah, we had some questions, but we have already answered, and I think everything is clear. Joe, thank you.
Great. No, I thank you very much for your support and backup. It is very important for me. Okay, so we jump into the next case, and this time we will go through an analog case. I will just jump right into the model creator. We have a couple very, very nice features here that we want to show you. Also, a couple highly frequently asked features, and you will see in a minute where I'm going with that. So the model creator starts as we have seen it from before. For this matter, I will load a scene file. Because we are working with implants and analogs, and we also created a couple abutments already. As you can see, they're in the software for us already. Now they, of course, disappear because they don't belong to this step. We get to the model alignment again, as we have seen it before, and here we just choose what we want to do. For this case, I will just go with the plateless model and the cutout dies again. Here's our alignment. And since we have to consider that they're model analogs sitting in the upper jaw, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to extend the model height to 50. That's something pretty much convenient for me. I know the height of the analog, so I just drag down the model itself a little bit to give it a little bit more room and space here. I'm fine with that. And I just keep on continuing. The workflow itself and how we go through it is pretty much the same, just of course for a couple steps that are reconsidering the analogs and the fact that we're dealing with implants in this case. So we can, just as in our case before, we can still choose our detachable dies. In this case, I don't want to detach any additional dies. We have enough to talk about for our 4 abutment positions here. So I'll just go and continue, and we will start with the model analog step for the plateless model design. And here you can see we have 4 yellow teeth down in the wizard. You can imagine this is the same step that we had for our dies before in the last case, but this time it's for our analogs because I didn't set up any detachable dies. If I would have, they would be appearing here as well, and you would have the same options again, the shaft taper, omit die pin, everything you want, you can also implement here. So the first thing I want to do here is I want to determine for the software what kind of situation I'm dealing with my abutments. So you can see they're all switched to yellow, they're preconditioned, okay, but we have a couple more options. For example, let's speak of the case that we have 4 implants here in our position, but we only have 3 DIMM analogs. The case is rushing as it is. You know how it is in a daily workflow. It takes too long until we can get an additional analog. So what are we going to do now? To still maintain a very professional position and a very good fitting of the crown, we can just use our features here, and I'm just gonna use tooth 21 and make it not just an unconditioned gingiva. No, I'm just clicking it one more time, and then I can choose it to an abutment die. And what that is, you will see in a minute, just bear with me. And to show you a slight difference, I will choose this one to an unconditioned state of the gingiva. That won't change anything in our appearance per se, as we will see, but I will show you there is a slight difference in the conditioning of the gingiva, and you will see it in a second. So my analogs here are fine. I have different setups available, and now you will see what I mentioned before. I just switched to 21 to an abutment die, and here I get the step available again for the dies. So I can also choose my shaft taper as I want to. I can choose any kind of setting that I want for my die per se. So with that, I'm fine. I'm just choosing the tapering again, switching over to the analogs and make a swift look. Everything looks all right for me. That's nice. So I'll go to the settings. And the settings here actually contain a very, very nice feature for us. It's all the way in the end. The presets work the same. Our base construction parameters here, as well as the ditching and everything, it's all the same. But underneath the milling anticipation, we have something additional now that has been frequently asked for. Maybe you already assume what it is. Bum. There it is. Under model analogs, it is the horizontal as much as the vertical offset of the analog, of the DIMM analog in our model later on. That has been asked for a lot because, you know, you want to actually individualize your fitting perfectly according to your printer setup, and that's the way how to do it. And you will play around with it as much as you want to until you get a very, very nice result and you get what you want. So I'm fine with the settings for our case here, so I'm just going to do that. That's fine for me. Something I want to show you as well, if you sometimes feel confused by all the options that are available in a very nice manner, of course, but you see you have this little button up here with the question mark. You're probably familiar with it, or at least you heard from it again. You can also press F1. Usually, if you're in the software right correctly, a page will also set up, and there you will see all our different options and what they mean for our model, all the parameters and what they can cause. That's a very nice feature for you to see. Take advantage of it, familiarize yourself with the software and the different features that we have and offer for you. So with this, I would just want to go, and I'm just gonna create a little mask over here for this part for no particular reason, just because I think if it's a model of an implant, we need a gingiva mask that has been like that. And here is another advice I give in all of my trainings that is underestimated in the efficiency of the design. Instead of moving here and dragging around, use your middle mouse button. It's a feature that you can see you won't find in any other software or brand. So use your middle mouse button to centralize your actual view, and the rotation X will also centralize here, and that will make designing for you a lot more convenient and also faster. And that's what we need in our daily workflow. We need to fasten our designs to catch up with all the appointments that we get. And I think you will all agree with me on that. So here I will just go. I just got my margin line for the gingiva part. All right, everything is set up as I want to. So I just hit next. Everything will be calculated. You can see here's our die already. and that's the conical die for our abutment. You can see, since I switched the taper height limit a lot higher than before, it's a very, very narrow position here, but that's okay for this purpose. Everything's being calculated together. The outlining also takes place. It's generating the entire model all around our scan, covering the analogs, not a sip of tea. It's very important in the morning. Nice. This process takes 1 second longer than usual, and there are 2 reasons why. For once, we're working with analogs here. That's a lot more complicated calculations. And also, since we're in the GoToWebinar application, the entire system runs a little bit slower now. Please keep that in mind. It's important for us as well. We have the same step again for the lower jaw. You can define any kind of parameter for the base, for the ditching, if there is any, or pin grooves if there were any, but it's not. So I'm just going to run the model, hit Control and Tab. So we jump to the next case and the calculation will be starting automatically. This time it goes a lot faster, of course, because it's just one simple jaw. There are not too many calculations to be done. Don't leave me hanging here. There we go. There is our model. They will be calculated together. The correlation takes in. And here we go. The model is being saved again as it was prior when in our other case. Here it is. Here's our model. Of course, I could still go and lower the height if I wanted to. I just did that just to be sure that our analogs have more than enough room. We could have lowered the height, of course, and save a lot of material here. I just wanted to show you the option. But here you can see what it looks like. We have our our non-flat gingiva layer here. We have our analogs implemented into the model. You can see the outlining, and you can see our conical abutment die here as well. So with that, I want to show you something different. And it is actually, you go out of my way, and now let's take a look at the model here. Because now, if you remember, we had set up different settings for our gingiva. Once it was preconditioned and once it was unpreconditioned or unconditioned. And you can see a slight difference here, how it determines the cutout. This one also smoothens down the gingiva part a little bit to give you a little bit more realistic feeling of how the crown will be extracting the gingiva part here as well. That's very nice. And the other version would be a very, very straight cut through the gingiva. You can see that by the little edge here as well, and gives you, for your own design purposes, different options. Everything else is set up very nice. We're at the same spot as we were before, again, with the attachments as much as the text. I don't need to add a text here at the moment. I'm fine with that. So I'll just show you a couple more features in our attachments. So something that I really, really liked, for example, is also being found by Formlabs. It's a chamfer. And the chamfer, in this case, I will just go and use it for our lowercase. Here it is. Here's the lower jaw, and I will just click on it. So the chamfer, oh, it just changed really quick our attachment. I'm sorry for that. So I will just go back to Formlabs. Here it is, and I use the lower jaw chamfer. I just click on it, and here you can see it. I have the same options as usual to bring it into position. It's very easy. I just drag it around. I rotate it a little bit. And what does this thing is a very, very nice little feature. I just bring it into the right position. Yes, now we have no contact to our model. That's okay, because I just bring it into the right position. And from here, I can just you can literally see it, how I'm cutting away the lower edge of that jaw. And that gives me the option later on, if I'm in production, the printing is done and I want to detach the model from the plate, and you know what kind of hassle that can be if you're using your spatula and trying to get under the model. It can be very, very difficult. So we use that chamfer to actually cut out a little bit of an edge here to make this detaching process from the plate a lot easier and more convenient for you. Another very nice attachment that Formlabs provided us here with are ventilation holes. I'm going to choose the ventilation hole of 2 millimeters real quick because I want to show you something, how I'm going to use it. For example, I just click on the model. There it is already. Now one too much, which is all right. And I just bring it into position because I want to use it in this case. And I want to actually make a hole here and use it as sort of a window for me to look through and check on the seating of my die. And for that, I just bring it into position. The maneuvering of the attachment is the same. Control can rotate it, and you can grab it and drag it along if you want to. So that looks fine. I'm just gonna pull it out a little bit more. Don't worry, you're not able to hurt the die at this point. So with those two, I am all right. Those are my two little attachments that I'm going to use. So I just click on next. And once I do that, my two attachments will be calculated into the model and considered. And you will see in a second that the first thing we will notice is that we will have a slight chamfering here in the model of the lower jaw. There it is. So here we can see the very nice corners that we created. I think that's very convenient. Most of you hopefully will agree with me. And here we have our ventilation hole for the fitting or the controlling of the fitting of our die. And if I just blend it out for a second, you can see we have a very beautiful view on the seating width of our die here. And that looks very nice to me, if you ask me. And it's a very convenient feature to actually check if the fitting of your dies is correct. You can also see that our DIM analogs are already calculated in. Everything is the way we wanted it to be. So with that, I'm fine. I'm done with my design here. I can save the scene to the project directory if I want to, or I can't. And with that, I am done with today's cases. Are there maybe any additional questions?
Maybe the question, can you hear me?
I can hear you very fine.
Mm-hmm. Maybe the question was, not sure that it was very clear what means this blue arrow for main insertion for the model.
The
What
main
affects
insertion of the model.
this? Yes, they have die insertions and the model main insertion. Maybe you can explain it again.
Of course. I will try to explain it to you and also try to open it in the same matter. So imagine that case. You remember our models all look differently. They all come in different shapes and sizes, and sometimes it's very hard to integrate them into the right positioning of the articulator. If you use the incisal needle, for example, and it has to actually touch the incisors of the lower jaw, and sometimes it's very hard to get the model into a position like that. So maybe I can explain it to you that way. This is our base design of our model, okay? Because if you remember, we had a very, very straight insertion direction of the model itself. If I would have manipulated that insertion direction, drag the arrow more to the front, then my base design would also adapt to that and also form a different shape here. And that gives us the option, for example, if we're working with a full-scale articulator and we're trying to move the model a little bit more into the front to get to our incisal needle, then it will help us to actually change the overall insertion direction of our model to bring it more into a frontal position and have our basal part of the model more in the rear. Did that help you, or do you need me to demonstrate that real quick?
The answer was that helps a lot. I think it's okay, so thank you.
Perfect, I thank you.
One moment. A different person asks to demonstrate. If you have time, then demonstrate. If not, sorry.
We do have the time to demonstrate that real quick. We still have a scheduled 10 minutes. Let's make use of those real quick, and we'll just jump into the case. And with that, you will get a very nice demonstration of the expert mode as well. If you're a rather unexperienced user of Exocad software, really, this software helps you to make everything available, to make your wildest designing dreams desirable. Okay, we do not save the scene here. We are in the expert mode. From here, of course, I'm gonna delete a couple constructions. Perfect. And from here, we could go into the model alignment, of course. I will just jump back into the wizard. The wizard knows what step we're dealing with. We are in our demonstration case here. So we go to the settings, and here is the large arrow that I meant. So I'm just gonna distort it really, just for the demonstration purpose. I will change it, and you can see already the axis of the model itself and the insertion axis that I was talking about. So with no further ado, I will just run the model really quick to show you what that would look like. I could have changed the insertion direction of the dice now as well, because it will probably look a little bit funny now, but it will show you what we're talking about. I think for this purposes, it will definitely do its job. So give it a second while it's calculating the model together, and you will definitely recognize in a second what I was talking about in combination with the articulator and what advantage this feature gives you in your daily workflow to work professionally and work in a very precise manner. So let's pretend our dies are not here, even though I actually really like that kind of design. It kind of looks cool, if you ask me. Come on. But here you can see our base plate is completely distorted from before. It is a little bit more set into the rear, and that gives us the opportunity, if we had an articulator here as well, imagine here's the articulator plate, and we can just go into the frontal edge of that plate, but we're still not far enough out to actually get into the right position. So here now we have the option to lean the model a little bit more towards the incisional needle and actually work in a professional manner. I hope that was helpful this time.
Yes, thank you.
Okay, perfect.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Then I think we're all happy for today. At least I am. I hope you are as well, and you enjoyed the show for a second. And if there's no further question, I will say goodbye for today. And please visit us next week again. Next week, we will go through the partial software as much as the full denture module. I think you will really enjoy it. The features that we have available for you at this point, it's really nice. It's really breathtaking how convenient designing partial frameworks became within the last couple of years, and you will see how convenient it will be for you with our module of the software. So if there's nothing else anymore, I will say goodbye, and I wish you a very nice midday of the week. It's all right. Take care, everybody, and goodbye from Germany.